My mom says I shouldn't listen to Three Wise Radio, but I do it anyways.
Welcome to Three Wise Radio, a podcast where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, technology, the internet, and pretty much everything else media related. My name is Joe Greller, and I am joined as usual by Garrett Welker and Sam Pixley. All right, Guardians of the Galaxy has been out for a little over a week now, so it's finally time to spoil it.
Spoil the crap out of it.
Absolutely. If you're not familiar with our 0.5 style episodes, we basically have been trying to be better because our first year we were absolutely horrible.
We spoiled everything.
Spoiling them at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Some people
There
have
was
more of a life than we do and need to wait a few days to see these movies rather. So,
sure. We also have trouble kind of remembering the story sometimes. So we tend to jump around during these reviews a lot.
Yeah.
So for this one, I've solved the problem. I'm going to use Wikipedia's plot description to take us through the movie.
Okay. I also saw it today again, so.
Well, then, Garrett, do you want to do the honors and try and lead us through the story?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay, yes. So Wikipedia, they could lie to us. I think I remember the movie very well, but it's more of a critique and comments on this podcast than memorization. So, anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy, we gave you our first impressions of it, or Sam and Garrett did on Tuesday's episode. Anything you guys want to bring to the table before we jump into the plot itself that you were dying to say on the last cast but couldn't because we were doing a spoiler-free version?
No.
Nothing that's like jumping to the forefront here.
I need to get like the Price is Right thing every time you guys pause when I ask a question. Just go bam, 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 bam.
There's nothing that was like, oh, I wish I could tell you this, but I just can't. I guess the only thing that hit me was when you're like, what about Ego? How was he? And I was like, villainous.
Actually, when we can get to that in a second, but one of the best Marvel movie villains, I think.
Really? Okay. We'll get to that.
So, all right. Anyway, we start off almost kind of like a year or so after, I would assume. There is no exact timeline. What?
I think it's only like a couple months.
Oh. Well,
they don't say. Yeah.
But they're on adventures or whatever, and they are being hired by Aisha, who is basically also known as Kismet in the Marvel lore. And she's the leader of the Sovereign race and the Guardians, and has the Guardians protect valuable batteries from an interdimensional monster in exchange for Gamora's estranged sister Nebula. So bringing the whole family back kind of together right off the bat. What did you guys think of the intro to this? I was not a huge fan. I thought this was a very great second half of the movie and a very bad first half of the movie.
The intro by itself was what kind of queued up this entire movie for me. It kind of summed the whole thing up of like, man, they're really trying. They're really trying to make this the funny movie. Like the dance sequence. The dance sequence worked in the first Guardians because we hadn't seen it before. Now I think I'm kind of spoiled out on a movie doing like that same thing again.
Well, see, I agree with you 100%, but I'll argue that with at least with the dance sequence in the first one, it gave you insight into who Peter Quill was as a character.
Yeah,
you're getting to know the person and seeing the way he moves. Groot is just dancing to be dancing. There is no insight into
dancing to sell toys.
Yes.
I would argue if this were made in like the 90s, he was dancing specifically to sell toys.
He Batman and Robin'd it?
Yeah. But again, like while that was happening, I still enjoyed it because I liked the characters. But yeah, like Groot, I don't get it. I really don't.
Don't get what?
He's cool. He's Baby Groot. Like that's neat. But I don't need him. Like it's great. Yeah, he's a baby. Great, and he's dumb. Great, but he's got a heart full of gold. I get it. I just felt like they crammed it down your throat too much. Baby Groot's in this movie. Don't forget.
And that's why I said when he starts to like not be the central focus, because he is almost for the first half to a certain extent. When you start to get into the second half, he's less of a central focus, and I thought like even he was utilized very well in the final climax. So
I get it that they're like a defunct family and he's like the baby of the family, so that like that kind of element was clearly put into center stage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that kind of worked for me, but it was just too much of an emphasis.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So anyway, they're given Nebula because she was, well, the kinsman, sovereign race, whatever you want to call them.
The Golden Girls.
The Golden Girls as well. You're not wrong. But there was Golden Guys, too. She was caught attempting to steal some batteries. Well, actually, after they get her, Rocket steals some for himself. And the Sovereigns attack the Guardian ship as they flee for drones. And you almost get a very Empire Strikes Back feel where they're going to go through the asteroid field to try and get the ships off of them. I almost felt like it was them arguing about the odds and everything else before diving right in there. Like, that felt very Empire to me right before going in there. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that was what I felt as I saw that sequence take place.
Yeah. And I think that this may have stemmed an issue that I have with the movie, is that everyone was cracking wise the entire time. So as soon as it became like, oh, Rocket and Peter are really fighting right now, it's like, where did that come from? Because everybody's just talking shit on everybody the entire time. And then it's like, oh, wait, these two hate each other right now. No, okay. I didn't buy the sincerity in that whatsoever.
That's fair. Gamora, I don't think, was cracking at that point.
She wasn't cracking wise. She was almost never cracking wise.
Yeah, she was pretty much a straight man through the entire film, so we can't say all of them.
But she did dance.
Yes, she did. Anyway, the drones are destroyed by a mysterious figure, but the Guardians are forced to crash land on a nearby planet. And when they do, they realize that the figure who destroyed all the ships was Peter Quill's father, Ego, played by Kurt Russell. He invites Quill, who is accompanied by Gamora and Drax, to his home planet, while Rocket and Groot remain behind to repair the ship and guard Nebula.
Mm-hmm.
So, meanwhile, Aisha, am I saying that right? Was it Aisha?
Aisha.
Sure.
What?
The Golden
No,
Gal.
it's Aisha.
Aisha.
You call
Okay.
her.
So-
That's also a title that she has in the comics.
Her?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, hires Yondu's crew, who have been exiled from the greater Ravager community for child trafficking, to recapture the Guardians. Basically, Stallone is right away in the movie, and it's his only scene, just for the most part, in the entire film.
Yeah.
Yeah, just about, yes.
And he gets billing in the opening credits for it. Like, that is cameo. Like, we say sometimes, we use the word cameo loosely, I feel like, nowadays, but that was pretty much just a cameo by Stallone.
Yeah.
Yeah, what Sly wants, Sly gets.
Oh, sure.
He
No.
wanted top billing.
And he had to yell at what's his name? Michael
Rooker.
Michael Rooker. He had to yell at Michael Rooker, and I thought that was a good scene. I liked it just because it was Stallone yelling, and anytime Stallone's yelling, I'm gonna crack a smile.
It's just dread.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, that's the thing with Sly, is like, that's the same scene. He has that scene in like every movie. Like, that could have just been the Judge Dredd scene.
Yeah, what's your point?
It could have also been a scene from one of the many Rocky movies. Just like, that's what I was watching, and I was like, oh, he's yelling at somebody who's also yelling at him again. Classic Stallone. Like, it wasn't right?
No, you're right.
Yes, but once again,
But it works, yeah, and that's why he's been able to do it for 80 years.
I mean, listen, is it great acting? No, but it brings a smile to my face for some reason every time it happens.
It's because his mouth is so open the whole time he talks. You feel like it's just emanating truth.
I feel bad about that, though. You know that's from his birth, right? Why his mouth is like that?
No, actually.
He seems to be doing all right.
So they used forceps to pull him out by the head when he was born, and the doctor like messed up a nerve in his mouth, which is why he has that little lip droop on the bottom there.
Did not know that.
Yeah, little fun thing. Anyway,
I don't feel bad about it.
back to the story. Basically, after Stallone and his group of ragtag people say that this brothel, space brothel, has lost Ravager stuff.
Business.
Thank you. I blanked on the most easiest word.
Patronage.
Yeah.
Thank you. That as well. If we want to go
robot
below.
ladies, right?
Yeah.
That they're all having sex with is robot ladies.
Sex robots.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, they go out. They're hired by Aisha to capture the Guardians, and they capture Rocket. But when Yondu shows another reluctancy to turn over Quill, his lieutenant, Taserface, leads a mutiny with help from Nebula.
May I just interject quickly that we did skip one of the other amazing jokes in this movie when Aisha is walking down a laid out red carpet for her to walk to speak to the Ravagers, and the red carpet locks up and she stops walking while they try and fix the red carpet from rolling open. I thought that was comic gold.
Oh, no, I thought that's good because it's subtle. Like, it's something that
You liked that? I thought it was so
Sam was
dumb.
being really sarcastic about that.
Oh,
Super
I actually
sarcastic.
did like that. I thought that was fine. Like, that's a subtle thing that that's like a little joke. Let me put it this way. If there weren't other jokes beaten into your head, that's a joke that you don't mind, I think. But because there's so many other ones that are beaten over the top, that every little like joke that doesn't hit always becomes the same as those jokes that are just getting killed.
That might be fair.
Yeah.
But did not work for me.
Anyway, where was I? Oh, anyway, yes. Taserface imprisons Rocket and Yondu aboard Yondu's ship and executes all the loyalists, including what's-his-face from Sons of Anarchy.
Jibs?
Jibs?
I
Is that
think
who it
it's
is?
Jibs. The Irish guy.
I don't watch the show.
Nobody watches the show. All right.
You watched it. That's why I said. I don't know.
Jibs. It's the one that calls the other guy Juicy Boy.
JC Boy.
So use those context clues and figure it out.
I actually thought that was kind of powerful stuff there. I actually thought there was a good scene of them just like showing that they are merciless and just kind of killing people left and right who didn't want to obey the new captain. I actually did like that scene of throwing all the guys out into space.
Honestly, in this movie, the character that felt like he had the most to go with was Yondu.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, by
Yondu
far.
was the only character in this that I would argue had 3 dimensions.
Michael Rooker kills it on every level throughout the movie, I think.
Everyone else was pretty shallow.
I mean, Pratt and Gamora are pretty much the same characters. I don't really think that there's any shallow or depth to them that wasn't there in the first one.
But
possibly.
I guess that's fair. But the point is they tried to add
Gotcha.
elements that made us feel for them, and I didn't because there wasn't much depth to like reach on. Like I would almost say that the second most was Rocket, and that was only because he had a lot of good scenes with Michael Rooker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was able to feed off that.
Yeah, he's able
beyond
to-
that. Beyond that, I wasn't really clicking with anybody.
Which once again, I'm praised to Roker because he's just yelling at a guy who's like on his knees
He's
when
yelling
he's
at
shooting those
Sean
scenes. Yeah, he doesn't have much to go on. So, anywho, Taserface imprisons Rocket and Yondu aboard Yondu's ship, executes all the loyalists, and Nebula leaves to track down and kill Gamora, who she blames for all the torture inflicted on her by their father, Thanos. While imprisoned, Rocket and Yondu bond. Groot, who is just kind of being small and around the area.
I did feel bad for that when they picked on him. They were like pouring beer on his face and like
kicking him around,
kicking him and
yelling at him,
being real mean to this little cutesy thing. That was sad. But also, he's like super powerful too. So I feel like he could have done something. Right?
I don't know how to respond because now I can't tell always if you're being sarcastic
No,
or
he's
not.
being serious about this.
No, because he in another scene of the movie, he like whipped his tendrils out and like threw a guy across
that was
like
just
a
one
walkway.
guy though.
Right, but like start doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, couldn't they just step on him though and kill him?
I mean,
Yeah.
like a giant a bomb went off and didn't kill him, so I doubt that they'd be able to step on him and kill him.
I don't
Right,
know,
but
man.
I'm nitpicking.
Anywho, where was I?
They get the fin.
The bigger
Yes.
fin.
So while they're in, they get the fin. That was a joke. I felt if it would have went 3. So they keep telling Groot to go get Yondu's new fin from the captain's quarters, and that was one of the jokes that went on a little bit too long.
He just
Yes.
kept
Like,
making stuff.
It was good in the beginning, and there were other ones that interjected that were good, I thought. but it was like you'd have a good one, two bad ones, a good one, two bad ones, and it just kept going.
The last one was great. The severed toe.
That was pretty good.
That was quite funny. Which again, he's dismembering people and also being able to drag giant metal desks around.
With no one waking up.
What is happening?
He doesn't maybe have the mind. He hasn't grown in his mind area yet, so he still maybe he doesn't realize he could have taken all those people.
I suppose that's fair.
But anyway, they get out, they escape, and destroy the ship and its crew as they escape, but not before
the crew. They
What?
massacre the crew.
Yes, they do.
And there is the third slow-mo shot in the movie, I believe, at this point, and we're about 40 minutes in.
Is it?
That's the only one I don't think. Actually, that's one of the few slow-mo shots I remember.
There
was three of them.
There was a slow-mo shot. There was a slow-mo shot with I believe there was
coming?
What's that?
With the needle trap
The needle trap.
that Rocket has in the forest.
There was that slow-mo. There was the slow-mo when it's like a totally unnecessary slow-mo when Gamora and Peter are walking away to get on Ego's ship.
Yeah.
There's a slow-mo there. Like anytime three of them are by themselves, they decided to throw a slow-mo in. And I didn't get it.
Do you think that's because of the music? They're trying to match like the pacing of the music with what you're seeing.
Yeah,
so
that felt forced though.
I agree. So what we're saying here is we're going to, not us in general, but the public, is giving Guardians of the Galaxy maybe a pass at what we criticize Suicide Squad maybe for doing a little bit too much. Too much music to make it feel like you're watching a music video while a movie's going on.
I didn't feel that way while I was watching Suicide Squad, though.
No, but a lot of people did, and a lot of people wrote that in their reviews, is what I'm saying.
I would still say that Guardians is better at it, or has been. But yeah.
And the last thing I'll mention on this area before we say goodbye to the Taserface character, that joke should have only been said once and never again.
Yep, just beat it to death.
That
his name was Taserface.
That might have been the worst joke that was beaten to death out of the entire movie.
They probably did, I want to say 5 to maybe 6 or 7 even Taserface jokes.
Yeah, I would actually like to go see it again and count, because I wasn't obviously counting the first time around watching the movie. I'm just taking it in. But it'd be interesting to know the exact total.
There was the last one at the end when he got onto the comm unit and was talking to the Golden Girls. And was like, make sure that they know the name of the person that doomed the Guardians of the Galaxy, Taserface. And then she snickered at him and ended the communication. It's like, yeah, I'm done. I'm super done with this. This is.
I was done before, and they just kept hammering in. But it's after this scene that I felt like the movie gets better, and I was actually on board with most of the movie from there on out.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So we go back on Ego, and Ego explains that he's a godlike celestial, an immortal conscious that can manipulate the matter around him to form the planet with itself at the core. He can also form a human disguise. He traveled the universe to escape his loneliness and discover a purpose, eventually falling in love with Quill's mother, Meredith. Ego hired Yondu to collect the young Quill after Meredith's death, but the boy was never delivered, and Ego had been searching for his son ever since. He teaches Quill how to manipulate the celestial power, and they play a little game of catch. Now, I actually did kind of like that stuff because there was a little bit that was the only time that you actually did feel like there was a little bit of depth to that Peter Quill character in this film. Is he is clearly someone who has always been looking for a father figure, wants a father figure, and then just by trying to teach him this power that he has, you end up with the basic father-son mentality of just playing a game of catch. I thought that was really good.
I liked, and the thing that I guess that was also another. There were a lot of small moments in this movie for me that kind of summed up the whole movie. That moment to me was the best at the very beginning, the first time that he tossed it to him. And it wasn't like a game of catch, but he was like, okay, sculpt the energy ball. All right, now toss it my way. I'll manipulate it a little bit and toss it back to you. That to me, I was like, oh God, it's like they're playing catch. It's like they're having a father-son learning moment. Because that's what catch really is learning how to do something with your dad. But then when it went into slow-mo, And he like ran into the back and was like, "Throw it here, son." I was like, "Are we watching like the Scary Movie version of a Marvel movie where like this stuff is happening and like just gets beat to death?" It lost all of its subtlety to me, and again, it was death by 1,000 cuts. Like again, that wasn't that big of a deal, but paired with everything else that was going on, it just was too much.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really feel like that on the slow-mo stuff right there. I got more of like a Wonder Years type feel there, where it was like simpler times or whatever. I don't know. I guess I don't know. That was just a little different for me. But anyway, one of the things that we don't mention here, but I want to do touch on, is Mantis. We come to find out is Ego's personal aide, and she can make him sleep because he apparently does not sleep. So that's what he uses her for, is to actually get rest and recuperate from time to time.
She was a shining spot in this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed her.
No, she was great.
Are you being serious again?
No, we're being serious on this.
I've got to put some more inflection in my voice, apparently. No, I thoroughly enjoyed her. I thought her character did a good job. Like, she's not a character. She's a character that has been done before, like the completely innocent, naive character. But I think that actress did a really good job of manipulating it. And I think the CG people did a really good job of working her eyes and brow and to kind of make that humanity come out in those like strange kind of buggy eyes. I was very impressed with her character, and I thought that was when Drax was at his best, when he was talking with her.
I was telling Sam after we saw it the first time, like it was just such a great juxtaposition between her and Drax, because Drax is somebody who's taking everything literally and like, and is like, they both take everything too literally, but in different senses, and it was just a great way for them to like bounce off of each other. I felt
it was a very like. It was almost like almost an innocent, or almost like a pure conversation, because nobody was concerned with feelings. They were just talking about or concerned with like other people's feelings. It was just like Drax would say the things that he says because it is what he sees before him, and she didn't know how to interpret it, and actually made him interpret what he was saying, and it ended up that almost primarily everything that he was saying was coming from a good place. So she was happy about, for instance, being called like an ugly pet. And so she's like, "Oh, I'm an ugly pet. This is awesome." Because what Drax was saying is that these are actually good qualities. So that was actually really refreshing, and for me was like a really good couple of scenes.
No, that was very good, actually. And even when they try and go overboard with it, I thought it worked. The friendship where you think that he's like, "I don't want to hook up with you. I truly do find you disgusting." Yeah. I did actually think that was kind of funny, because even she's like, "What? No, like stop doing what you're doing."
No, we didn't. Yeah, it was kind of like the 21 Jump Street or the 22 Jump Street. I was like, "Are you trying to kiss me?" "No, I'm not trying to kiss you." "Why do you keep saying that?" "You were looking at me." "This is so uncomfortable."
So yes, you're right. Their interaction was good. So it's like what we said. There's good interactions.
There's great parts of this movie. Yeah. Absolutely.
But as a whole, yes, I would agree. There are shallow characters within the film itself. Anywho, after all this is going on, Nebula arrives on Ego's planet to try and kill Gamora, and in a North by Northwest nod, tries to shoot her down as she flies in and dives into a cavern. And after their little battle, what?
She just does that so recklessly.
I know.
She like drives her plane right up like a cave's butthole.
She is a half. I mean,
she's psychotic.
When you hear what happened to her, like, that's not unbelievable. Like, she's someone who probably has really nothing to live for other than trying to kill her sister.
What is it? Every time they dueled in combat, every time she lost, Thanos would replace a part of her with metal, and the only other person that she had was Gamora, who was also helping inflict this pain.
Yeah,
right. And you want to talk about that's the most fearful Thanos. He's not even in this film. But when she's talking about he'd rip my arm from my body, he'd rip my brain from my body, that was the most fearful I think that Thanos has come across of like, oh, this dude's messed up. This dude's bad news.
Yeah, he's completely cold.
And we haven't gotten that yet. We've just seen a man spinning in a chair kind of smirking. But it was in those words I was like, yes, what she's describing, this is the Thanos that needs to be in Infinity War. this is what we need to see, is this cold, relentless, dark side.
Too dark,
cop.
dude. Too dark.
What?
Too WB or too DC. I thought that scene was again. None of these scenes were like unexpected or incredibly original, but the scene with her when she was like, when they had that big fight after they tried to kill each other, and she was like, I just wanted to stay safe, and she was like, I just wanted a sister. When like Nebula, that was good to me. Mm-hmm. Like everybody that had the most depth were the newcomers and the people that weren't really big players in the movie.
Do you think that was intentional?
If it was, I think it was
a poor choice.
A poor choice, yeah. I think they definitely did a good job of not adding any more characters, but maybe it was. I don't know.
Especially because you remember, what was it? We were watching something a few weeks ago where I had a problem with, Fast 8. Remember, I was like, I had a problem with Jason Statham's character being a villain in the last one and then being a good guy in this one. I think this movie handled that type of scenario a little bit better, to where you got to feel for Nebula and Yondu, who were almost villainous to a certain extent in the first film, but are now a part of the group and fighting alongside with them.
And they did a good job of also Nebula never like fully embracing the group. Mm-hmm. It was still, it never became, there were never as a cheeky moment between two of the people. She was always aloof. Always distant, and at the end when it was like, you should stay and be with us, she was like, no,
fuck that,
we are still not good. Like,
right.
We may be able to rekindle our friendship and our sisterhood, but like not right now.
Yeah.
And then Michael Rooker again did a really great job, because he didn't have that much, like he was still an enemy in the last one, but it was also, there was like some depth to it, so it was a little bit easier for him to integrate.
Exactly. They did a very good job of building off that, like, what is this depth that's kind of there? Like, you could tell there was something between him and Quill, but you couldn't quite figure out what it was. And then this movie expanded upon it in a very good way, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's slowly coming out and being why it came out and everything.
And I think that I guess one thing about that for me was that one thing that excited me just from, I mean, I guess as a man with a dad, the idea that James Gunn said in his movie, and this is what I'm essentially saying is why I didn't care that I didn't care for the fact that all the smaller characters seemed to be the biggest parts and the most depth. He did say this is very much a movie about fathers and sons. Mm-hmm. And we saw like glimmers of that with Roker and Quinn and then Ego, but it didn't fully flesh out, and it still felt a little hollow. And I think that's only because I think that if they would have gone about it a little bit more, it could have been something really unique.
I would agree with that.
So I guess that's what I was a little upset by.
Missed potential is almost where you're at on that.
But it was almost spot on with him and with Peter and
Yondu.
Yondu was really good.
So anyway, after Nebula and Gamora kind of tussle in the caves, they come upon all these skeletons, and it is revealed through many different scenes that Ego has traveled to not only Earth, but he's traveled to many different planets, and he's trying to terraform these planets into a new extension of himself, but they can only be activated by combining the power of two Celestials. And in that case, he's impregnated not only Peter's mom, but countless women across the entire galaxy, but none of them have held the power that Peter had. So Ego killed all of them and failed to access that when he failed to access their celestial power.
A question that Hannah brought up to me after we watched the movie today. So did he just go around as 70s Kurt Russell to all of these planets?
He
and
absolutely
seduce
did.
All these women?
Yes.
as 70s Kurt Russell.
There were giraffe ladies that were like, "Oh, your hair's so coiffed. Get over here." He absolutely was Kurt Russell crossing the galaxy.
I mean, I would hope so.
Shatner did it. Pine's done it.
Good point.
Why can't Kurt Russell do it?
Good point.
If anything, Kurt Russell should be the only one to do it. And you know I'm right.
Yes. Yes, you are. And this twist where you start to find out that he's actually the villain of the story, I thought that was pretty good, because in all honesty, from the trailer and everything, I didn't see this coming.
Me neither. They did a good job of keeping that locked up. But you knew it was going to happen as soon as there was like a scene initially, like 20 minutes after they got on Ego, of Mantis being like, Drax, I have to tell you something, and I was like, oh, this shit's gone. Yep.
Oh no, that I thought that was that Gamora was hiding something the first time I saw it. I thought that's what it was
You
going
thought
to be.
Gamora was hiding something?
Yeah, because she walks up right away and she's like, "What are you two talking about?" And I thought it was like maybe there's something going on that because she was the more distant one still out of everyone still cracking jokes. She's the more distant one. I was like, oh, maybe she's the one hiding something. So I was a little bit misled with the first time it happened.
Interesting.
I figured it was because like the planet was clearly too much of a paradise, and that to me was an immediate like, nope, this is a facade.
Before we continue, what did you guys think of Ego actually being a planet? Like, that is what he is in the comics and everything else. I thought that was a pretty good interpretation of.
Oh yeah.
We gave him a man to play the character, but at the end of the day, he really was Ego the living planet.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, that was great. And then the visual of the face of the planet, like a ways back, was when they would zoom out. It was great. Spot on. Great job.
I thought that was pretty good. So Ego forcibly uses Quill to activate the seedlings, which begin to consume every world. And listen, anyone who's ever had a problem, yes, I'm going to side with DC again. Anyone who's ever had a problem with like the blue light on DC, it seems like the giant bubble of blob taking over. I've seen tons of times in movies before, and that's kind of, really?
It was the giant alien taking over from Evolution.
Yes. Yes, it was.
David Duchovny piece.
I just thought, also, there's a lot of people that get killed that we see that is not going to be brought up either in this movie. That he's just engulfing, and I'm assuming they're just now part of rock.
Oh, millions of people died, for sure. Across the galaxy, for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, back to it. He begins to do it, and he starts explaining to him why he's doing it, and he eventually comes back and he says, no, everything Ego tells Quill, everything I've been telling you this entire time is true. I did love your mother. I knew if I went back to her one more time, I wouldn't come back home. And because I need to come back here, and this is what my ultimate goal is like, I knew if I went back, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I put the tumor in her to kill her because I couldn't face coming back again to her and wanting to go back to a world without, it's like he kills his mother so that he can complete his quest. And that's when Quill finally gets the motivation to fight back.
That was another great scene because I always thoroughly enjoy when directors and writers realize that dialogue is unnecessary sometimes. So I loved I think his exact line was like something roughly, I hate that I had to put that tumor in her.
Yep.
And then Quill is like, what? And then just shoots him 20, like just unloads on him with his laser guns. I appreciated that it wasn't like, you killed my mother, you did what? How could you? And then start lighting him. It was just a visceral, guttural response of like, my mother was the one that was there for me. All of this fantasy world is like flushing back out. They're like, yeah, this seems great, but you weren't the one that was ever there for me, and she was. And it just the fact that it happened like that, I really appreciated that.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. So Mantis, who's been growing closer to Drax the entire time, as we talked about, warns him. And Nebula warns Gamora, Drax, Nebula, all those people. And Ego's plan, just as it's about ready, Rocket, Yondu, Groot, and Kraglin arrive on the planet after space jumping 500 times. Did kind of like that joke.
That was a great scene. It's not good to jump more than one time in a row.
It was like 50
We're
times
doing
in a row.
700, and they all just started like acid tripping. That was great.
So I thought that was pretty good. Anyway, when they crash land, they're all reunited and they reach Ego's brain at the planet core. And just as they're doing this, the Sovereign Nation has basically found them as well with their little Tron-like space ships.
Yeah.
And they basically are now fighting them as they're fighting Ego, and all hell is breaking loose at the core of the planet. Rocket makes a bomb out of stolen batteries and has to explain how to basically set the bomb off to Groot and Ego's brain. And this takes some time, and Ego is able to get back together, and he starts battling Quill again. This was the only time where Baby Groot not understanding stuff I actually did find funny. Well, that and the toe. I did actually kind of like the bomb interaction as well.
I like the bomb interaction. It was the tape thing that right before that just went on way too long, and it was just.
Do you have any tape? No, if anybody had tape, it would be you. And then it proceeds to, like, you hear the audio of Quill asking everybody in the Guardians of the Galaxy who had tape. No, I don't have tape.
Yeah.
I did chuckle at the Scotch tape thing, though.
Yeah, like, again, there were parts of it that were good. I liked the part with the Scotch tape. I liked the part where he's like, did you ask Nebula? She was like, no, she was standing right next to Drax. She would have said something. I knew you didn't ask her. Like, there were good parts, but again, it was just too much. Like, there were too much rough to dig through and to find the diamonds.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like there could have been a better editing job, maybe.
Well,
and not with the movie itself, but with the script when they were going through it.
There was better editing. They put it in the trailer. That scene was in the trailer, and it was just like, do you have any tape? How do you not have any tapes? Like, you're the one with the atomic bond. If anyone had tape, it would have been you. Like, there you go. Good joke.
Yeah, you're right.
Or maybe do that and then throw it to Drax. Do you have any tape? Scotch tape? Yeah, that'd be great. No, I don't.
And then in what is almost an imagination of, to a certain extent, like Green Lanterns battling, Quill and Ego battle in basically the basement of the planet, the core. And some of those I did enjoy. Like, I enjoyed that he turned into Pac-Man and stuff like that, trying to basically come up with anything and everything to try and use what he knows as what this newfound power he has.
After his real dad says to control the light, not with your mind, but with your heart. Yondu.
That's at the very end.
Yeah, but that's right before he starts, like, controlling.
You're right.
And fighting.
Yeah, that's right before he starts using the light.
You're right. So anyway, while all this is happening, eventually they're able to neutralize Ego for a short period of time so they can set the bomb. Everyone starts to escape, except Yondu tells Rocket that he's going to stay behind. Rocket gives him, just enough to survive, a
jetpack and a spacesuit.
Yep. Their version of the jetpack and a spacesuit. And then you see that Peter is willing to die to make sure that Ego doesn't do what it is he's trying to do. And as this happens, Yondu sacrifices himself to save Peter, and you realize that Yondu didn't deliver him to Ego in order to spare him from the fate that he knew that Ego was killing all these people. And it's corny, but I actually like that line of, he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy. Just the way he delivered that kind of, I thought that was
classic.
Good.
Yeah, it's Michael Rooker for sure.
Yeah, that and his joke of, he's like, you remind me of Mary Poppins. He's like, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Like, he's like, is he a badass? Yeah, he is.
Yeah. No, he just did a great job. I mean, that character is clearly just him
in space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked the line of him saying, like, oh, you kept telling me you were going to eat me. And it was like, that's supposed to be funny. Not to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just did such a great job in this. And I'm so glad they killed him.
Yes.
Like, that's the way to end it. You don't do, because we've already had in this where, didn't we already have in this where he saves Gamora the same way? Like, Gamora gets saved the exact same way in the first one. Yep. And no, that's the right way to go out. Make a character fantastic, make it to the point where you wish you would see more of him, and then take him away.
Right, because if you're going to sacrifice him, make sure it's a real sacrifice, not a fake out death.
Yeah. And just make you want more. I would rather end a character wanting more than wishing for less.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So as this happened, after this happens, we basically get to the end of the film, and we see that Yondu gets a proper Ravager's funeral, and that we see finally Stallone come back for 3 seconds again.
He didn't let us down. Pew, 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 pew. Fireworks.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Pretty much. And and they give him a proper funeral. They all do their whole little family thing, and then you see Gamora and Nebula try and reconcile. But as we talked about earlier, Nebula's like, no, I'm still going to go out and try and kill Thanos, which probably means we'll still see her in Infinity War.
Oh, for sure.
And then, yeah, pretty much that is the end of the film there. Did I miss anything on the end there?
Doesn't Drax get the last line? Because I think I liked it. I can't remember what it was, though.
Because it like Mantis is commenting on the fireworks.
Oh.
It's like, oh, it's beautiful, and he's like, yes, and so are you, on the inside.
Yeah. Damn it, Batista's so good.
Yeah, when you actually let him talk, Sam Mendes.
Yeah. He didn't let him do much of anything in that movie.
No. Wasted it, Spectre. So that's basically that. I'm not even going to touch on, unless you guys want to, the credits. I didn't even stay for the Stan Lee one at the end. But if we want to mention that, we can.
There was a funny haha with what's his name trying to use the whistle, the
Kraglin
trying to use the arrow. There was another one of the original Guardians of the Galaxy coming together. There was Adam Warlock being introduced as a Guardians, probably Guardians 3 villain. There was, what else was there?
There was Teenage Groot,
which, oh God, I hated that.
I missed that one. I think I looked down at my phone because I was texting you guys. I completely didn't see that one either.
Angsty teenage Groot playing video games. Yeah, and then the Stan Lee one.
Yep.
Which I did like because it finally told us that he is the Watcher that we've all assumed that he's been throughout the films.
If anything, he's at least been an informant to the Watchers.
I think what they meant to do that as is he's just kind of like this time and space traveling anomaly that like bothers the Watchers.
I mean, like James Gunn came out and said that yes, he is a Watcher.
I'll have to read that interview because I took it a different way. I take it as he is like the little brother of the Watchers that just like follows them around and just wants to keep bothering and pestering them.
That's a possibility. I want it just because it finally gives this thing a character. We talked about it in like wanting it for so long, and Marvel has said for a while that they weren't going to do it, and now that they said they were going to do it. But also remember, what's his name? I can't remember that
Uatu.
specific. What is it?
Uatu. It's Uata.
Uatu. You have to remember, they can't say his name because he debuted in a Fantastic Four comic, which Fox owns the movie rights to him.
Yeah.
He's dead anyway in the comics, I think.
He's hella dead.
Nick Fury shot him in the head, I think.
Why?
Take his eye. Because his eye is like all seeing.
Oh.
That sounds like a Nick Fury thing to do, though.
Either that or shit, who did it in that? That was not a great arc. Someone killed the Watcher, and it was like, who killed the Watcher? And then who was it like? I don't. Yeah, that was a horrible series, like five issue arc. I can't even remember who actually killed him now. It's either him or Winter Soldier, or like Winter Soldier became the new moon. There's like a guy that's always on the moon watching space. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
a bunch of
Watcher.
crap.
So, couple notes on this. One, we have Ego in this film thanks to Negasonic Teenage Warhead. So this is all part of the deal that Deadpool worked out to use that character with Fox. So there is talk between Fox and Marvel as far as trading characters for the foreseeable future if they can both get something out of it, as we saw with this. Another thing, I was very disappointed that Michael Rosenbaum only had one word just about in the entire film, and I didn't even realize that he was that character until he said something at the end.
I figured you'd be disappointed.
I was extremely disappointed because he's a very good comedic actor in a very good comedic film that was not used.
Yeah.
So, all right, closing thoughts on the movie. Where do you want to see this movie go? What do you want to see happen? Basically, do you have any expectations for the Marvel Universe going forward? Did this kind of stop it dead? I mean, like we said, at this point, Marvel movies are required reading, but we said we liked it.
I mean,
we all said we liked different parts of it, but I mean, what are you guys looking forward to, I guess, now after this?
Not Guardians 3. If the key villains that are coming back, if Adam Warlock is the big push, which I don't know enough about him, but based on the research, he seems like a really not compelling villain at all. He's like the hero that can turn into a villain sometimes when he becomes too powerful. Great, cool, yeah. Dark Phoenix, whatever. But if the Golden people are gonna still be key players in the Guardians, like they were awful in this. There was not about a single moment. I think I like the first 3 seconds that you saw that they were all in like a video arcade flying the planes, but they were just so bad. I didn't care for them at all, start to finish.
I would agree to a certain extent. I would agree in the sense of they weren't as good. They basically are there to replace almost the Nova Corps from the first one, to replace that kind of element. But I would much rather see a lot more of the Nova Corps than see these people again.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
That was what was missing, I felt, from this film. Like, at the end of the day, I really didn't need it. But I feel like, especially if this is going to tie up and end this story of this version of the Guardians of the Galaxy, you have to have the Nova Corps come back in it at some point and play some sort of part in the final story.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see on that.
It didn't make me more excited for the Marvel Universe, though, because it was a completely separate entity.
Yeah.
No, like we said, this is very much just one thing that, I mean, they're going to merge in Infinity War, and it's all more connected than some of the other stuff, but
honestly, I would be more excited about the Guard. What I'm assuming will come, and I mentioned this to Garrett in theaters, I would be more interested to see the old Guardians and the new Guardians that came together to join up with the Ravagers and help in some giant space battle. I'd like to see all of those kind of like space pirate ships go into combat.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. That'd be interesting.
And apparently, if you have that arrow, you can just kill everyone. Because he killed like hundreds of people with that.
OP arrow.
It was almost like that's almost why they killed him, so he didn't just kill Thanos on the spot.
Yes.
Just saying.
What's that arrow made out of?
I don't know, but I'm sure if it didn't work, he would just say, "Get me a bigger fin, and I'll be able to kill this sumbitch."
Apparently, the fin that they had originally, the bigger fin that they originally going to use, was too big for the doorway, so they had to like readjust the fin.
That's pretty good. All right, that's going to do it for us this week. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns on this cast or any other, you can email us at 3wiseradio@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram at 3wiseradio, Twitter at 3wiseradio, or hashtag 3wiseradio, or on Facebook at 3wisemedia. Our normal episodes come out every Tuesday, so tune in next week when we will talk about medieval stuff once again, because King Arthur not getting so good reviews right off the bat.
I'm so excited.
3 Wise Radio is a production of 3 Wise Media. For more information, check us out on Facebook.